My name is Jerry Reed, and I have been in the field of suicide prevention since about 1996. It was one of those hidden problems that maybe we weren't as a country mature enough to talk about, but we got mature very fast when we realized that people have lost a lot. At that time, there was about 30,000 people who were dying in this country every year by suicide.
This is important. People are dying. My peers are dying, and you're not paying attention. Those are like times where it felt like it had to happen. Something had to happen. Somebody had to say something. I'm DeQuincy Mayfrin-Lazine, suicide attempt survivor, a scholar, and an author. Not that long after I started getting involved is when when Congress said, yes, this is a national priority. And then quickly from there, they went to, yes, we should build a national strategy.
And the national strategy was released in 2001. So I would say, honestly, it was the voice of the lost survivor who kind of said, enough is enough. This is preventable in many cases. Let's lift the veil of secrecy and do something about it.
World Suicide Prevention Day, 2010. So I was at the hospital waiting for my son to be born and also waiting for the National Action Alliance for Suicide Prevention to be launched. Action Alliance started putting together task forces, and we were able to put together a suicide attempt survivor task force, which was really exciting to have enough people who are attempt survivors engaged in suicide prevention at the national level or willing to do it at a national level to have our own task force, which was awesome.
And that was an important step. And then once that was done, after we raised awareness, we wrote this 2012 strategy, which incorporated a whole lot of new things like crisis lines and lost survivors and lived experience.
I remember at the time I was working in prevention when the new national strategy came out in 2012. And I saw, looking online on the website, it's like, oh, they have a lived experience committee, and was very excited that our field was recognizing that, because everything up to that point had been fairly hush-hush. I had even been told by a couple mentors, they were like, well, if you have lived experience, if you have ever had thoughts of suicide or make an attempt, don't tell people because it'll hurt your career chances.
We decided that we needed to express our core values because they were somewhat different from what was in the national strategy, just in that we wanted to pull together something that were more in the consumer, mental health consumer movement, recovery movement. So a lot of principles, just like having things like hope and, purpose and meaning, involving people who were family and friends of attempt survivors, having awareness of cultural traditions and faith traditions. And we had lots of discussions about the possible titles for it. And one of our members suggested The Way Forward.
And so it really set that framework. It really set the foundation for how our field needed to be better at including and respecting the life experience of those who had had their own personal struggles with suicide.
So my name is Isabel Garcia. I will say lived experiences, access to a very specific set of wisdom that only comes from firsthand contact experience. It's this sort of, you had to be there to understand. You had to be there. It's that type of sensation.
If you were taking a road trip and you were going on a road you had never been on and you didn't have Google Maps, asking someone who had been down that road is going to help you prepare for that journey. And so asking, each person who has had their personal experience, somehow they have made it through. And so listening and hearing, people say, well, just because you survived doesn't mean you know how to prevent suicide. And it's like, well, no, but I know how to prevent it for me. And this person knows how to prevent it for them. And there is some collective wisdom from hearing what it was that helped and what was happening at that moment.
So my name is Steele Kelly. We don't know what we don't know. We have to bring folks into the table that may have not traditionally had a voice. Maybe their perspective is a little bit different, or they're able to bring that knowledge that we don't have on those suicide-centered experiences.
My work is me. I am the work. All of my educational programs, all my trainings, workshops, circles, presentations, all of it are about my story. It is all about the lived experience.
I think lived experience reminds people that not only are they not alone, but someone else has been through this difficult part. My name is James R. Dixon. I've experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of suicidal ideation. I've been in war situations and seen really bad things at a very early age. I'm in this work because I think a part of me wants to serve.
I think that also having the possibility, even of having a group of attempt survivors in a room multiple times and finding out that that was actually okay to do, just that aspect had a resonance in the field, because that opened the door for other groups, other organizations to do that as well, to pull together a group and to know that this can actually be okay. And even better than okay, this can actually have an impact on what we're doing and give a different perspective on things and change some language things that might not get picked up otherwise.
My name is Susie Reese, and I am the Director of Lived Experience Initiatives at the Suicide Prevention Resource Center. I've been personally impacted by suicide in more ways than I can count, and that gives me a different type of experience, a different type of knowledge and wisdom. And so by bringing us into these spaces, you're not only getting stories and terrible situations, and I think people often focus on that, you're getting strength. You're getting consistency. You're getting people that motivate themselves when they don't want to be. There's so much wisdom in the past that we've had to force for ourselves. And I think when we bring that back into the space is stronger.
When I came to the Suicide Prevention Resource Center, and one of my first tasks was put together a lived experience advisory committee. And so I did kind of reach out to different folks because we wanted to recruit people with lived experience from across the country.
I tell my story because it illustrates the impact of intergenerational trauma. I tell my story because it illustrates the impact of services that have gone awry or culturally irrelevant services.
My name is Colleen Solitis, and I am the Lived Experience Initiatives Engagement Manager for our Lived Experience Advisory Committee. I think that lived experience in the suicide prevention world has really been, there's little whispers about it everywhere. It's really come to the forefront that why haven't we been doing this? Why haven't we been centering lived experience? I think that it's become important for so many organizations.
My name's Tom Cruise. I still think there's a stigma. I still think we're behind on social media, and that's just because social media changes so fast, and the platforms change, the audience changes, and how you gotta go at each one of them, which is unfortunately why we need a younger, fresher, personnel in here. And there's so much potential out there with so much new people that want to share and help break the stigmas.